Greetings, welcome to Railway Mania. I'm Corwin. In 2020, Hornby have announced that they're bringing out a new steampunk range, and this has inspired me to make my own take on steampunk. Their one's been designed by Laurie Colvert of Cato Pass fame, and it features quite a lot of weapons and jet engines and that kind of thing. Whereas with my one, I want to go for a bit of a more Victorian and Edwardian style, with a little bit of European influence. This is the video series on how I did it. I really hope you enjoy it, and please stick around for more. My starting point is an old Triang Lord of the Isles single-wheeler. This was kindly given to me by a fellow RM web member as an unfinished project, so hopefully it gets a new lease of life rather than being forgotten about in a drawer somewhere. Don't you just love these old models that only have one mounting screw? Marvellous. When I was doing some research for this project, I came across concept art for the train hideout in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I really liked the swept up cab roof, the large wheels, different handrails, and the gold filigree detail of this, so I'm going to try and emulate and bring in some of those ideas. The first job is to take a deep breath and cut the cab roof off using the razor saw. Next, I'll need to make some little fillets to give me the angle I want. Here, I'm using a piece of styrene sheet. Marking the sheet with a pencil gives me a rectangle to cut out, which can then be cut into two triangular fillets. I tend to use the scalpel and metal ruler over and over, scribing a bit at a time to cut through the thick styrene. This shows the process of trying to get the shape I wanted from the fillets, originally having a curve to the roof, but it didn't flow as nicely as I'd hoped, so I later cut it away in favour of a sharper angle. As a quick way of getting another roof section with the right curvature, I borrowed the roof from another donor model. Sorry, Swindonites. A few spots of poly cement help fit it all together. Next, the normal looking chimney had to go in favour of something more brash, the razor saw and file being used to remove the old one. My old friend Squadron Green putty here being used to fill the cracks in the roof before sanding. This is one of the cases that my contact lenses come in. It's just about the right diameter for the boiler to make a nice streamlined smokebox door once the outside is cut away. It's kind of reminiscent of the GWR's attempts at streamlining in the 1930s. I also needed to remove the lower smokebox front using the Dremel to mill through the plastic, filing the gap as needed. The smokebox had the lumpy bits cut off and the new door was secured with poly cement. Here I used the razor saw and a fresh scalpel blade to trim away the curve on the cab side in favour of a cool angled look, more like the Assassin's Creed locomotive. Around this time I was keen to get some primer on the model to get an idea of where it was heading, so all the surfaces were prepped with some wet and dry sandpaper. The modified cylinder cover was created from another bit of styrene slotted and glued into the chassis. Because I wanted the loco to remain as a 422, but without the comparatively modern looking front bogie, I attempted to fabricate some outside frames for the front. This went okay-ish, but I messed up by trying to solid mount the wheels and the frames. It became so much of a pig's ear that I wound up removing it all and starting again, this time with the wheels mounted on a hidden bogie inside the frames. The process for making the frames was much the same, so I'll just quickly show the first attempt here. I added little support braces to prevent it snapping off. After this, I put it in the spray booth, hoping that no one over in Swindon knew that I was conducting this heresy against the Great Western Railway.
Swindon, Petissimum, Brunel, Petissimum, Armstrong, Petissimum, curse the heretic, curse the model, paint flake and chassis trouble. Curse the heretic, curse the model, paint flake and chassis trouble.
This is where it all went rather wrong. Disaster! The paint had reacted with the gloss already on the model. It had shrunk and shriveled up everywhere and wouldn't grip the glossy surface even after it had been keyed. I tried to sand it back, but there was no real option other than to try and take it all off and start over. This is what it looked like after being scraped with a flat screwdriver blade. You can see how the gloss paint is still shiny. I used someone's toothbrush to try and remove the flakes of paint that remained, and the tweezers came in handy for the little fiddly bits. To try and remove as much of the contamination as possible, I used some thinners with a cotton bud to wipe down all the surfaces and melt away the primer. I was hoping that the thinners would also remove the contamination. After this, I hit it with some grey primer, and thank goodness, it stuck this time with no reaction. Then it was time for sanding once more, with plenty of wet and dry, used wet this time. The water helps prevent the sandpaper clogging up, and allows you to get a nice, keyed but smooth finish. The scalpel and files were used where I had to be a bit more brutal. Sanding isn't very interesting to watch, so we'll spool through this as quickly as possible. This shows the original setup with the solid mounted front axles. It did not work at all. Trying to set the height of the front two to match the driving wheel was so difficult, always too high or too low. It would have worked better to build an extension to the front of the chassis rather than trying to mount it on the bodywork. This is where we'll close this chapter, ups and downs, but it's all part of iterative design, finding out how things are supposed to work. I hope you've enjoyed this so far. Please subscribe so you can see the upcoming part 2 where we'll tackle the tender and make some more progress on the loco. Thank you for watching.